I've made over 60K a month for the past few months from my online business. And here's the crazy part. Each month I've worked less and less. In fact, in just the past 2 weeks, I've been sick, as you can probably tell a little bit, and I've made $34,000 from my bed. You might be wondering, how is this possible? It's all from systems leverage. So in this video, what I thought I would do is I'm going to explain how to leverage systems, how to build efficient systems in your business, and then give you the 3 systems that every business needs to make 6 figures on autopilot. Completely free, no sales pitch, no nothing, no gatekeeping. Let's just get right into it. So starting with chapter 1, systems leverage. You see, the key to making ridiculous amounts of money is through leveraging systems. So let's go over a basic system overview. You've probably heard the word system for a while, but you may not know what it actually means. And when you understand this, it becomes insanely powerful, as you're about to see. So this is a basic system overview. We have an input. Those inputs get processed using a process into an output. And then you get feedback from the output to then determine how to structure your new inputs or your new process, okay? And this all happens in an arena or an environment. So let me give you the basic example that I learned systems with. Let's take a lasagna. Lasagna is like a classic dish. If you don't know what that is, it's just a food. And so you have the inputs being the ingredients. You've got the noodles, you got the cheese, you got the sauce, the meatballs, whatever you put in there. Then you have the process, which is turning the oven on a certain, 350 degrees, laying out everything in the pan, the order of which to put the ingredients in, how long to cook it for. It's how you process those inputs. The output is the lasagna, like the finished lasagna. And the feedback is how tasty it is. Do people like it? Is it too salty? Is it too this? And so you use the feedback to then change the inputs or change the process. For instance, you might have had too many tomatoes, or the cheese might not have been the right cheese. And so that changes the inputs. Or maybe you cooked it too long, which means you need to change the process. And so by running this system, you get a better and better output if you keep iterating on the feedback. And this all happens in a kitchen, right? So if you're operating in a kitchen, an arena, or environment that has a very bad stove, the system's probably going to work less because the stove is really bad. And so that is a basic systems overview. But let me give you an example for how this actually applies to business. A system I have in my business is we create Twitter threads. And these Twitter threads get a lot of engagement, like hundreds of favorites, hundreds of replies. And we have a system for creating these things. And so we sat down and thought, what is our inputs? Well, the inputs are our target customer. Like, who are we trying to actually get engagement from this thread from? What is their psychological situation? What are their hopes or dreams or desires? And then we thought, what resources do we have to use for these Twitter threads? What past content do we have? Because I have someone who writes these things. I don't write them at all. Someone else writes them. They just take what I've said in the past and the resources I've created to make them. And then we have the process. Like, how do they structure the thread hook? How do they structure the call to action? How do they actually respond to the call to action whenever someone actually leaves a comment? And the output is the thread that gets a ton of feedback, meaning like engagement on the thread, all this good stuff. And so we have so many systems in our business, and that's what this whole video is about, is how to build these systems for yourself. But so that's an example, the Twitter thread example. We also have an IG post system. So someone takes my past content and creates Instagram posts for me that are valuable. We also have a sales system. It's like, what system do our sales guys go through? Like, the input is they have a booked call, and the output is they have a closed client. What is the process that they follow to take that person from an interested customer or a future customer to an actual paying client? And this all happens in an arena, an environment. So for instance, our sales calls happen on Zoom. So we have to abide by the laws of Zoom because that's where it's happening. And so all this is very, very powerful. But let me give you a tangible example when it comes to actually making these YouTube videos. So most all you guys are familiar with YouTube, and maybe some of you even have an interest in YouTube. So this should make very, very good sense to you, okay? So let me show you a diagram to the side here of my content system right now for this raw channel. So the inputs are my raw thoughts and ideas. The process is the actual content creation process. So how do I come up with a title? How do I flesh out these videos? How do I record the videos? What is the lighting that I have? How do we edit the videos? How do we upload them? And the output is, 3 to 5 uploads a week that add value to you guys. That's the target output. And this all happens on YouTube. So we have to abide by the YouTube platform rules and algorithm. So for example, the way you view videos on YouTube is they always have a thumbnail and title for the video. So that means because of the arena I'm playing in on YouTube, I have to use a thumbnail and title, and I have to care about those two variables because that's what YouTube cares about. And the feedback is the views the videos get, the comments, how many sales calls we get, and like the personal reviews. Like what do me and my team think of the videos after they're done? And so we run this system 3 to 5 times a week, and we're constantly iterating. And I'll show you guys more on that in the rest of this video. But that's a basic system overview. And so the only reason that I make so much money with such little input nowadays from me is because I learned how to create systems that give me the output I want. So it's all about figuring out what output do you want. So for most of you, it's just straight money right now. And I'm gonna show you the systems you need to output money. But over time, you'll realize that you can create systems that will give you any output you want if you learn how to build systems. That's why this video is so powerful. And in case you haven't noticed this yet, this is the difference between billionaires and McDonald's employees. Instead of just a random hamburger joint on the side of the road that makes like, maybe 10K a month, maybe. McDonald's is a multi-billion-dollar company. Why? Because they built the system. They built the system that can then be copied and pasted on any corner in America or China or anywhere to print the same output. So the billionaires who own McDonald's, the people who started McDonald's and actually took it to be scaled it, is because they built a system. McDonald's is just a system that they built, and they copied and pasted that system to now where any 14-year-old who dropped out of high school can get the same output every single time. The burgers taste the same. The fries taste the same because those people built a system. If you ever want to get out of hustle mode, you have to learn this. You have to. Because if you don't build a system, you are the worker. You're the employee all the time. But I'm going to show you how to build these systems. Moving on to chapter 2, which is building systems. So the first step is system construction. So this is actually making the system. So in the McDonald's example, it was the first McDonald's hamburger joint. They had to create the first system to actually get the output they wanted. They had to make it first before they could scale it. And so that's what, let's do that for you right now. So the first step is what is the desired output? Which means what result do you want the system to spit out? So in the first example, it was a tasty lasagna. In my email system, it's 3 emails per week that add value and sell my product. It could be thumbnails that attract or compel my target viewer to click. It could be 3 videos per week that add value to my niche. It could be a golf ball flying to the hole. So like in a system where you're hitting a golf ball, the inputs are the human and the golf club, and your swing is the process, and the output is how close the ball gets to the hole. Everything in life is a system. And the first step is figuring out, what do you want your system to spit out? That's the first step. Next step is identifying inputs. So what inputs do you start with? Let's say your output was you want to get potential clients to book a call with you. Well, you got to think, what are your inputs? The first thing is the strangers, your leads, the leads that you find on YouTube, on Instagram, and their latent conditions, their problems, their dreams, their desires, their psychological situation that they are in. That is the input you have. Also, your copywriting skill, right? And the process would be combining those things together to get that person to book on a call with you. And so in the first one, it would be the lasagna ingredients. The next one, it would be like raw ideas and thoughts. That's from my content system, right? Those are the inputs that I have in my content system is raw ideas and thoughts. And like in the golf example, it would be the golf ball, the golf club, the golfer, and the golf tee. Those are the inputs. The process is the swing, and then the output is the ball going towards the hole. Step number 3 is process construction. So this is what people don't seem to understand, and this is why they can't build systems, is finding the output is the easiest, which is like, what do you want to get, right? Second step, identifying inputs, is pretty easy as well. But the third step is where you have to go into detail, which is what is every step needed to turn those inputs you have into the outputs you want. So in the lasagna example, it's all the ingredients. How hot do you cook the lasagna for? How long do you cook it? How do you lay out the ingredients in the pan? How much of the ingredients do you use? Every single step is part of the process. And if you screw one step up, you screw up the whole lasagna. So here's an example from my content system, right? This is what the process looks like. First, I capture the raw idea. I must have a raw idea and then capture it. Next, I must refine and expand on the idea. Then I have to actually record the idea. Then I have to come up with a title and thumbnail. Then I have to upload those files to my editor. Then my editor downloads the files. Then he edits them into a video. Then he uploads the video. And then he schedules it. And so that is every single step that happens between a raw idea becoming an actual published video that adds value to you guys. And this is exactly what I'm doing right now. I am in the step of recording the idea. And yesterday, I refined and expanded this idea on a board, which I'm going through and recording this idea from. And so that is the first step, is system construction, actually building the system. So what is the output? What inputs do you start with? And what is the process? What is every single step to actually take those inputs into an output? And so if you're going to do this for outreach, right? If you're going to build an outreach system, think, what do you start with? What are the inputs to your outreach system? It should be leads, right? The leads, the strangers you're going to reach out to. And think, what is every single step of that process to get them to book on a call with you? What is every single step? So sending the email subject line, the email body copy, the intro to the email, the actual value you're sending to them, the call to action. What is every single step that they take in that process to book a call? And then, that's it. So output, identifying inputs, and then constructing the process. Now, time for step 2, which is system iteration. You have to make the system actually work. You have to make the system better. And so the first step of doing this is figuring out the goal. So what is the main result you're trying to optimize for? And you need to dig deep on this. So for instance, some people will say that, I want to make YouTube videos that get a lot of views. But if you're running a business, is that really what you're optimizing for? Or are you optimizing for how much money your videos make? See, I optimize my videos for value per view. Why? Because that variable allows me to target the right people. It keeps me focused on adding value to my market. And ultimately, it makes me the most money over time because I'm actually solving problems and learning how to create value. And so I don't optimize for views at all. I optimize for value added to the marketplace. And so whenever you're building a system, you must think, are you just optimizing for booked calls on your calendar? Or are you optimizing for dream clients who book calls? It's all about figuring out, what are you really trying to get from this system? The more clarity you have, the better. The second step is you must find the levers of success. Now, what I mean by this is, what are the key variables that determine the quality of that output? So in my case, the quality is how much value was added to the marketplace. So I had to sit down with my editor and we hashed out what is every single variable that determines whether our videos add value or not. And the third step is variable iteration. So once you've found those variables, the 80-20 variables, the 20% of things that give you 80% of the output, you got to figure out, how do we improve each one? And also, how do you hunt for new information to improve these? So let me give you a very tangible example from our business, from our exact content system. So if you look on the screen right now, you can see here are the variables, some of the variables of our content system. So when it comes to packaging, what do we look for? Well, the first step is thumbnails. What are the variables of the thumbnails? Well, it's the facial expression, the color and contrast, the text design, the composition of the overall thumbnail. Then when it comes to intro visuals, which is the first 10 seconds, do we convey value visually? Do we confirm their click visually? Does it match the title and thumbnail? What is the general quality and excellence? What is the curiosity or visual hook that we provide? And then how new and unique are the visuals compared to everybody else in the market? That's just content packaging. Now, if we move on to creating valuable videos, meaning actually solving their problem, how do we do that? Well, the first is ease of consumption. How easy is it for people to consume? Meaning the pace, the rhythm of editing, the cleanliness and professional of editing, the excellence and attention to detail, general quality of editing. Also, this is just on the editing side, but on the recording side, we have the lighting, the audio production, how well I'm speaking. All these things affect the ease of consumption variable, that adds value to the market. The next step is the visual presentation of the value and idea. It's like, are we conveying value visually? How good are we doing that? Are we using text, colors, and effects to make consuming the value easier and more enjoyable? And are we using editing to give more of a structure to the value, meaning steps, lists, etc.? And are we using visual demonstrations and graphics and diagrams to help them understand the idea and value? And so these are just a few of the main variables, like the levers we've determined improve the output, which means value added to you guys. And so if we look at each one of these variables and we continue to improve them every video, ultimately our value per video will grow exponentially. And so that is the first step, is like iterating on these variables. And the next, the fourth step is iteration journal. You want to log, what did you improve that rep, like that video, that outreach, whatever, and what can you improve the next rep? So I'll show you an example right here on screen right now of our video iteration log. So every single video that me and my editor do, we sit down at the end and think, all right, what is 1 to 3 variables that we focus on improving of this rep, this video? Then what did I try to do to improve those variables? And then I give my thoughts and iterations on like the overall thing, right? So how do we improve next time? What do we need to do in the future for the next video? And so you see how if you literally will do these steps, right? Figure out exactly what you're trying to optimize for, figure out what variables determine how much of that result you're getting, and then iterate on those variables, and then keep a log of how you're iterating over time, and do that every single rep, it'll become insane. If you want to see a direct representation of this, click on my channel name, open it in a new tab, and scroll down to the bottom of my channel and look at my first video like 3 months ago on this channel. Look at how different it is because we iterate every single video we iterate. And so it actually looks insane. So that's kind of section number 2, which is system iteration. And now it's time for the most magical part about it is system automation. So basically making the system run with little or no effort from you. The first step to doing this is 1, technology automation. So asking yourself, how can you use technology to make the process more efficient or automatic? And guys, even if you're starting from nothing right now, you need to be leveraging technology. For instance, when I was just a video editor, I was way ahead of my competition because I would leverage the frick out of technology. Every single effect that I had to do, I would create a preset for. Every similar video I'd make, I would create a whole template project for. Like if you can do something one time and it save you hundreds of hours in the future, do that thing and find those things and do a lot of them. So whether it be presets or, for instance, when my guys in my program, whenever they're sending outreach, I show them how to use a simple audio file to make it seem like they're sending personalized outreach, but instead all they're doing is clicking the audio file and recording, right? So it's using any kind of technology you can to automate the process in any way. So look at every single step of your process and think, how can we use technology to make this step effortless or way easier? That's the first step in automation. And this is where you actually become an operator, right? You look at these guys like Iman Gadzhi, Andrew Tate, Charlie Morgan, the guys making millions of dollars per month. How are they doing it? They've built systems. Do you think they can sit there and make $10 million a month by themselves? No, they have systems for it. It's all automated. That way they can continue working on higher leverage things. The second step is human automation. So once you've used technology as much as you can to automate whatever you can with tech, which is usually very cheap, then who can you hire to run the process for you? So for example, my little brother, he makes all my Instagram posts. Like he takes the content I've already created, I've already made. We gave him an exact process of exactly how to do it. We made a template for him in Photoshop. All he does is take the value and post it on Instagram so that I don't have to do it. I pay him a little bit of money. He saves me a ton of time and the market still gets value from my post. It's a win-win because I created the system. And this is how people get rich, guys. No one gets rich working all their way up by themselves. Whenever you see one of these entrepreneurs who's working like crazy, they're not working doing the task. They're working on building the system for someone else to do the task. This is how wealth is generated. This is why everyone else is an employee. This is the same reason why you don't know anyone who's ever taught you stuff like this. Is because they're the ones running the world and you're just a cog in the system. The sad reality is either you are the one building the system or you're the employee running it. Most of you guys are the employees because you never even heard this concept, right? Someone designed every system. The education system was designed for an output, which means employees. That's why it doesn't work. Spoiler alert, you know? So yeah, you got to think, who can you hire in this process for you? You don't need to be rich for this. I've hired my brother. I've hired cousins. You hire anyone whose time is worth less than yours right now. You need to hire them because they'll do the work for you. You can hire virtual assistants for like $3 an hour. You can hire setters who will do even more complicated stuff for like $10 an hour. You have to just figure it out. Like you have to just find people to hire. If it's not worth your time, automate it. But here's the best part. This is why people fail with this, is you cannot automate a system that doesn't work, which means you have to figure it out first. You can't automate an outreach system that you've not made work by yourself because the VA is going to run it worse than you, you know? So build the system, make sure it works, and then automate it. For example, with my editor on these videos is I came up with exactly how we wanted to edit these things, and I gave him exact guidelines, and then I automated it to him. Then I turned him loose, and now he's crushing it. Shout out to you, Caleb. Caleb, send them a waving video so they know who you are. There's a face to this amazing editing you're seeing, and it is my good friend Caleb. I love him to death. So Caleb, give him a wave on this video and put it in there. All right, step number 3, optimizing efficiency. So once you've automated all you can with technology, you've done human automation. Now, how do you make this whole thing more efficient? Meaning you spend less money on this and less time, and the whole system runs more fluidly. You ask yourself the question, how can you make every single step of this process more efficient and easier to run? And how you do this online is by using SOPs and resources. SOPs mean standard operating procedures. So for instance, in my Instagram post system, we have every single step laid out for my little brother. This is where he finds the content. This is where to look for the content. Here's all the resources we have. Here's past content that was in the same kind of form as Instagram post. Here's the exact Photoshop template. Here's the exact font you use. Here's exactly how you put everything into Photoshop. Here's how you export it. Here's how you upload it. Here's when you upload it. We literally make this whole process into a standard operating procedure. This big Google Doc where he just follows it step by step. That's how people make tons of money, guys. Is because they've created systems like McDonald's that anyone who failed out of high school can run. It's making the system so simple that anyone can run it. That's how you make money, because then you can hire anyone for cheap to run the systems. And so that's how you do it. And so that's kind of the overview of building a system. The first is you have to actually construct it, making the system. The next thing is iteration, making the system better. And then lastly, it's system automation. So how do you make the system run with little to no effort? And that is chapter 2. So moving on to chapter 3, it's time to show you my $60K a month value creation system. This is the exact system that I plan to take to $100K a month, literally with almost no changes, okay? So this is what it looks like. I'll put it on the screen up here. The input is a person in niche with pain. In my instance, it is a copywriter who is not making any money because they can't get clients. And so the process is actually 3 subsystems. The first one is acquisition. The next one is conversion. And third one is value delivery. And the output is a person in niche with the pain gone. Problem solved. So the input is a copywriter who doesn't have an outreach system, who doesn't know how to get clients, who's absolutely clueless. And the output is a copywriter who's extremely educated in business with a running system that has 3 to 5 paying clients in a few months. That is my value creation system. That's how I make $60K a month, is because I solve the problem for them, which gives them insane value, which means I get money in exchange for that value. And so let's go over the subsystems. The first subsystem is acquisition, right? Which means, how do I take raw attention from these people who have a problem and get them to actually book an appointment with us on our calendar? That is subsystem 1. So that is like its own system. How do I go from raw attention, person in niche with pain, who watches my videos, to actually booking them on an appointment? Next system is appointment to close clients. So when someone books an appointment, how do we actually take them through a sales process that shows them the value of our stuff, breaks their beliefs, and gets them buying our product and ready to go, ready to put in the work. And system 3 picks off where system 2 left off. So system 3 is value delivery. So the actual program, the value we provide. How do we go from a closed client to a satisfied client, a client whose problem is solved? So subsystem 3 is where we actually solve the problem. And the metrics are all of our feedback. So like all the metrics on our front end of how many people book a call, how many people show up to the call, how many people close on the call, value delivery, how many people get results of those who take action. That's really it. And so that's how these systems looks like. So acquisition subsystem 1, here's a diagram of that, which is latent conditions of the niche. So the people who have the problem, pain, desires, through a stimuli chain to then get them to book a call. So show them a landing page, VSL, Calendly, book call. Conversion subsystem is once they book a call, how do we actually get them to close a client? What process do we take them through on the sales call to show them the value of our stuff, break their beliefs, show them that they can do it, give them confidence to take action, and get them to actually commit their money to take action? And lastly is value delivery, right? How do we get these closed clients to be satisfied clients using the courses, programs, support, all those things? So yeah, that is my $60K a month system. And so if you want to build a system, an online business, you must think of it like this. What is the inputs? Who are the people you're trying to help? How do you acquire those people? So how do you get their raw attention, them showing interest? Then how do you convert them? So whenever they have interest, how do you actually give them through a sales process, whether that be a sales page, on a sales call, whatever, to get them to actually hand over their money? And then lastly, how do you actually deliver on what you sold them? So how do you solve that problem for them? That's how you build a business that makes a lot of money. So I know this was a lot, guys, but let's recap, okay? The only way to make a frick ton of money with little effort is by understanding and building systems. So how do we do that? First step, what output do you want? What are you trying to achieve? What is the output? What is the goal? Next, you must build a system designed to produce that outcome. 3, iterate, work on the system until it actually works, until it produces the outcome you want. And then 4, automate it with tech and with humans. 5, move on to the next system, which brings us to 6. You want to build an acquisition system, a conversion system, and then a value delivery system. And then sit back and print money. So that's it, guys. Hope you learned a ton from this video. I know it was a bit complicated, but I'm trying to make these videos more complicated because frick this stupid service level business knowledge that everybody's talking about. I want to be the guy who actually goes into insane depth and changes your guys' lives by showing you stuff that no one else is saying. So hope you enjoyed. If you learned something, let me know in the comments. And love you guys. Let me know what else you want to see. And I'll see you guys later.